The president with a potential problem when it comes to what he has said and what his administration might be planning to do about the nuclear threat posed by Iran. First, a refresher on what Mr. Bush said about Iran's alleged nuclear ambitions just 6 weeks ago.
I believe they want to have the capacity, the knowledge, in order to make a nuclear weapon, and I know it's in the world's interest to prevent them from doing so. I believe that the Iranian, if Iran had a nuclear weapon, it would be a dangerous threat to world peace. We got a leader in Iran who has announced that he wants to destroy Israel. So I've told people that if you're interested in avoiding World War III, it seems like you ought to be interested in preventing them from having the knowledge necessary to make a nuclear weapon.
The problem, a new U.S. intelligence report says Iran halted its nuclear weapons program in 2003 and remains on hold. Quoting from the National Intelligence Estimate, we judge with high confidence that in the fall of 2003, Tehran halted its nuclear weapons program. We do not know whether Iran currently intends to develop nuclear weapons. That assessment would seem to jibe with reports last month that the Bush administration had been holding up publication of the NIE for more than a year, reportedly pressuring intelligence officials to rewrite the document to match Vice President Cheney's hardline views. The White House spinning a new timeline today. National Security Advisor Stephen Hadley claiming that the intelligence community only realized Iran halted its nuclear weapons program in 2003 on Tuesday and only told President Bush last Wednesday.
The intelligence community finally came to the judgments that they came to on this issue Tuesday of last week. The president was briefed on Wednesday. So this is challenging information. The intelligence community had to decide what they thought about it. They were sufficiently uncertain about it that they delayed the publication of the NIE until they could come to the bottom of it, reach their conclusions, present it to the president as they did on Wednesday, and then at that point, obviously, we wanted to get that quickly.
You describe the Iranian threat today differently than the president would have even a month ago.
Because our intelligence community has told us, effective today, that their assessment is somewhat different than it was before. That's correct.
Let's bring in Rachel Maddow, the host of the Rachel Maddow Show on Air America. And Rachel, thanks for joining us.
Hi, David. Thanks for having me.
Rachel, does it look as if that World War III comment might come back to haunt the president? I mean, have his advisors painted him into a corner when he steps out for tomorrow morning's news conference?
I think that he's going to have two big questions he's going to need to answer. Number one is why they had Stephen Hadley go out and give the first official White House response to this document in which he said, "This proves we were right." That comment needed a laugh track. I mean, this document essentially, brands the words liar or fool on everybody who has casually and falsely asserted that Iran is seeking nuclear weapons, and that includes the president and the vice president and every Republican presidential candidate other than Ron Paul. And for him to come out and say, "This proves we were right," I think was a huge embarrassment to Steve Hadley, and I think that requires an explanation. The larger explanation is whether or not we really ought to believe that some magical thing happened on Tuesday that changed the intelligence community. All 16 agencies of the intelligence community changed their consensus view about Iran 180 degrees. That doesn't seem probable. It doesn't seem plausible, and but they've got to stick to that if they want to maintain that the president hasn't been lying when he knew that this NIE was going to say they didn't have a weapons program.
And how effectively do you think President Bush can say as much tomorrow morning?
Well, what's interesting, David, about this press conference is that as a Washington man, you know that when Bush gives press conferences, usually they give about 90 minutes notice. They give a couple of hours notice. Today, they announced a full day ahead of time that Bush was going to be there. I think he can expect, therefore, some more aggressive, more compound questions from the press corps. They apparently feel confident about his ability to address this stuff, so I think we should expect some surprises.
Rachel, on a related point today, Paul Wolfowitz is back. He has a new job in the administration as chairman of the International Security Advisory Board, which is essentially a prestigious State Department panel from which he'll be advising Secretary Rice on disarmament, nuclear proliferation, weapons of mass destruction, and the like. Is credibility and performance now irrelevant in the Bush administration? I mean, does loyalty trump all?
Well, I can't imagine how a person could look out at the field of talent available in the United States of America, need somebody to advise on intelligence regarding weapons of mass destruction, and pick Paul Wolfowitz. I mean, if there's one person in the country who would seem to be disqualified on intelligence about weapons of mass destruction, it would be him. He's the poster child for wrong intelligence about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So my sense is that it may be loyalty. It may be that they want to rescue him from the obscurity into which he has fallen after his disgraceful exit from the World Bank. It may also be that they have a very, very small universe of people who they feel comfortable talking to. And the fact that he's worked on weapons of mass destruction makes him enough of an expert, despite the fact that he's been more discredited on that subject than anybody other than Curveball.
Well, maybe it's also that there are fewer and fewer neocons who are willing now to work for this administration at the end. But in any case, adding up the NIE and the Wolfowitz appointment, the big picture, do you think the administration will in any way pull back or slow down or rethink its push for some sort of military confrontation with Iran? And is there such a thing as shame, doubt, or embarrassment with this crowd?
Shame and embarrassment I've never seen. Doubt I can't imagine as a human they don't have. But in terms of what's happening on Iran, I do think we're seeing a few different trends coming together. Number one, you will have noticed that they've stopped asserting belligerently from Baghdad that Iran is killing U.S. troops in Iraq. They have stopped those dog and pony shows with weapons saying that those are all Iranian weapons killing U.S. troops. They've also now allowed this NIE to be released, which says that Iran doesn't have a nuclear program, after reports say a year of it being held up. There does seem to be some dialing back on Iran. What remains to be seen is whether that means that an attack on Iran is less likely or whether they would like it to be more of a surprise when they do it.
You also wonder about the steam that must be coming out of Vice President Cheney's ears right now. But in any case, Rachel Maddow of Air America. Rachel, thanks for your time as always.
Thank you, David.